For most stay-at-home moms, aside from the random feeling of insecurity about not bringing home a paycheck, they struggle with never-ending household chores and errands. Working moms, on the other hand, also have an occasional feeling of being not good enough, because even though they can help with the financial needs of the family, their work sometimes hinders them from spending time with their loved ones in return. We are moms like you. We understand all these, but the question is, why choose when you can have both? Be a work-at-home mom and enjoy bonding with your family without compromising your household finances. FHMoms is here to help you jumpstart your work-at-home career. With its fast-growing community of Filipino moms who are either aspiring or already working from home, partnered with its goal to help determined Filipino moms land a home-based job, you'll surely get the help that you need through its tools, guides, and advice readily available for you. Are you ready to work from home like us? We're here to assist you every step of the way. Check the Filipina Home-Based Moms page or join the group for more details. FH Moms. Moving forward, giving back.
Hi everyone, good evening. Hi to, we have a couple of moms who are already watching the live. Hi to Sheen, hi to Razel, hi to Christian, hi to Estella, hi to Joan, hi to Jing, hi to Irby, hi to Angeline. Hi everyone. I hope you are having a great Wednesday evening. It's Wednesday, right? I sometimes lose days. And I hope you are excited for our talk for tonight. And I'll be introducing myself in a little bit, but feel free to drop in the chat if you can hear me loud and clear, and where you are from, where you're listening or watching from. I would really, really love to know. Yeah, let me know. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Rusty. Hi. Thank you for the compliment on my new hair. It's fairly new still. I'm still getting used to my new hair. So yay, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I am hoping that you have your pen and paper ready, because I have a ton of things to go over and make sure that it's something that's going to be of value to a lot of you today. Okay, so we have people from Taguig, we have people from San Mateo Rizal, yay, Valenzuela, awesome. Okay, so sharing my screen. Okay, so tonight our topic is Soft Skills 101 Beyond the Technical. So I'll be really going through the main soft skills that a lot of people don't really know about, or if they know about it, it's a little bit harder for them to really fully understand how to be able to utilize it, how to actually be able to really live up to it, especially if you're going to put it on your resume, for example. So let me know in the comments if you're excited to learn more about this topic. I'm really hoping that you are. And we have someone who is watching from all the way from UAE. That's an amazing thing about the internet, is we can reach from everywhere. We have people from Ilocos, from Bicol. That's amazing. Okay, so before anything else, my name is Lai Lacaba. I am the virtual ate. I've been working from home since I was actually 15 years old. I'm now 25, so it's been 10 years. And I run my own outsourcing agency here in Cebu City. So if anyone from Cebu City, let me know in the comments. And I also vlog about how to work from home on my YouTube channel. And I teach mostly teens how to get started. If you basically am talking to 15-year-old Leanne, like, these are things that you have to know so you can skip the mistakes that I did. So if you guys want to reach out, feel free to connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and also on LinkedIn if you want to. And of course, feel free to check out my YouTube channel. Now, before we move forward with the training today, I always try to teach this first thing. It's called the Teachability Index. Now, the Teachability Index mentions that if you want to learn anything, if you want to succeed in learning anything, you need to have two things. And it's basically the willingness to learn and the willingness to take action. And you can see that it's a multiplier. It's times. It's not a plus, it's not a minus, it's a times. Because what happens is if you have a 10 on willing to learn, you're right now listening, you're here, you're doing your chores, you're watching me from somewhere else while you're taking care of your kids, that's your willingness to learn. Now the next thing is a willingness to take action. Is now after this, what are you going to do next? Are you actually going to start choosing one of the soft skills that I'm going to teach and actually going to put into the action of learning it? So that's why it's multiplier, because even if you are a 10 on learning, you're listening, you're taking notes, but you're not willing to actually take action, it's still 0%. Versus even if you were just on 5 on learning and 5 on action, you're at least at a 25. So let me know in the comments where you are at with this. Are you at maybe 10 learning, maybe still a 7 on taking action, so that's 70? Let me know. I would really love to know where you guys are at so I can slow down. If there's going to be topics that you really want me to dive into, feel free to ask questions as well. So yeah, let me know. Yeah, we have a couple of people from Cebu as well. Let me know what is your current teachability index. It doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be perfect 100. It can be 70, it can be 80, it can be somewhere along those lines. Again, I would love to know. Now, the reason why soft skills is really super important is a lot of the time it trumps skills. It's always character over skills. I've always seen it this way, because the truth is your character can be brought to any job. It's one of those things that in a resume or in an application letter, when you're writing it, it's applicable to any job. It's a transferable skill. It's a skill that you can basically bring, even if you're like, for me, I brought it all the way when I became CEO. I brought all of the soft skills that I had. I learned the hard, quote unquote hard skills. I know how to do Facebook ads, I know how to do copywriting, I know how to do a lot of different just skills in general, but that's mostly for a specific job. When I became CEO, I had knowledge of them, but I wasn't doing that anymore. That's why having the right soft skills or developing your character really is essential. Whichever stage that you are at right now when it comes to finding a job from home or starting a business from home. By the way, let me know in the comments as well, who here is an aspiring business owner or already started their business online. I would love to know. Yeah, we have a couple of people who are 10 out of 10. We have one who's 78, very specific. We have a 25 and a couple 25. So that's still good. That's better than 0 for sure. Okay, so to be clear, first thing, because I'm going to mention about 10 soft skills. You don't have to have all of these soft skills. You can have maybe 10% of one and then like 100% on the other, or it could be a mix of all of the 10, or you're just really narrowing down on some of them. The point of me going through this list of pointing this out is to be able to give you a guide, a clear guide on what are the things that you can work on if this is something that you want to work towards, is having the soft skills that, again, you can bring to any job that you have. So why is character important for getting a job? So not just having a job, but also getting a job. Now, you can learn skills easily. Character is always developed throughout life. And for those moms who have been working from home for a while, you know this, that it doesn't matter if you are the most skilled in creating graphics or you're the most skilled in programming. If you don't have the right character, your boss or whoever is hiring you probably won't pick you, versus someone who's just getting started on those skills but has great character, has a great personality, has a great mindset. They're probably going to pick that person for the long run. So really keep that in mind. And also, again, I guess, like I just said, you can be the most skilled applicant, but if you don't have the right attitude, you're not going to get hired. As someone who has seen, I think I've seen over 500 resumes at this point, and I've interviewed around 200 people at the very least in the last 5 years being CEO, I can very much attest to this. And I've seen people who have even perfected like the tests that we give them, the English tests. And when it comes to the interview, they were either late, they were either not super responding to the questions that I was asking them. So I still favored the person who was just getting started but was motivated enough or had some of the soft skills that I'm going to talk about tonight. And a lot of them are still with our company. So for a lot of people who hire a lot, they know what to look out for when they're hiring. People basically who they know that they are going to stick in the long run. Also, skills can always be outdated, but being someone who has good character never goes out of demand. And that is the truth. Because if you've been in Facebook ads marketing, and I have been for about 7 years. I remember when Facebook ads wasn't even really a thing, and I got 500 likes on my Facebook page just because I was the only one who was doing it. I think I only spent 100 pesos for 500 likes, which is crazy now. But that's the point of things are always changing. Like Facebook ads right now, you can't do that anymore. You can't get 500 likes with 100 pesos. So skills are always going to be changing. There's always going to be a shift in technology of how you do things. But being someone who has good character, who has soft skills, the right soft skills, will never go out of demand. Okay, so these are going to be the top 10 soft skills that you need to have to get long-term clients, or clients who will keep recommending you to their friends, or clients who will keep coming back to you if they want something else done, just because they know that you are someone that has the really good soft skills to be able to tell them if something's wrong or how long some things will actually take for the job to get done. So the first thing, and this is something that I know a lot of you are really working on and moving towards, it's basically your written and voice communication skills. Now, there's a ton of uses for it. First is doing video calls, as you know. So if you're doing an interview, if you're doing, you're talking to your workmates over Zoom, it's really great to have the skill of being able to say what's in your head, or being able to paint a picture just so you can move towards the same goal. Another one is, of course, doing presentations like this, doing trainings. If you're someone who wants to be seen as an expert in a particular field, for example, having the right communication skills or developing your communication skills will definitely help you move towards that direction. The next one is, of course, writing reports. Again, if you're someone who's able to really translate what's in here, what's in your head, into text, then it's going to be so much easier for you to move up. Of course, the same thing with writing emails, and of course, public speaking. Once we can all do big events again, having really good just voice or verbal communication skills will really help. Of course, negotiation. If you want to negotiate your pay, for example, or negotiate your responsibilities, or just simply change the state of where everyone's at, having, again, really good communication skills will help with that. And of course, delegating and monitoring tasks. Now, there will be come to time where you are either hiring people or managing people for other people, and being an effective communicator will really help make sure that everyone is on track. Everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing, what their responsibilities are. So again, having really good communication skills really come into this. And then, of course, conflict resolution, because these things do come up. It's really rare that there's not going to be a miscommunication here and there, especially when you're all working online, when you can't see each other's faces all the time if they're struggling with something. So that is why, again, having communication skills helps kind of manage and make sure that everyone feels heard, that in the future, how to avoid this conflict again. So how do you actually now improve this? How do you improve having good communication skills? How can you work on it? So first thing, and I believe like this with like my whole heart, if you want to be a good communicator, you have to learn how to listen. You have to learn how to be the person who people know that they can trust, that they can tell things, because then you're someone who can put that into either a better light, or you're someone that they can trust to either keep a secret or help them solve a problem. So that's why having really good listening skills is something that you should develop. You shouldn't listen to talk. You should listen just because you want to listen. One of the things that we do a lot, especially when we're not aware of it, is just we're waiting for them to stop talking so we can talk. And of course, you want to avoid that. You want to, again, really amp up your own listening skills, just because this is one of the things that will make you more effective, is if you have the other person feel that they were heard, feel that they were understood as well, not just heard but also understood. Next is having clarity. So communicate with an endpoint. A lot of the time we spin around a certain topic and we don't really know how to stop sometimes. And I have had days, even though I've learned with my upgraded my communication skills a lot, I know there will be days there I'm like, I don't know what are we talking about? So having clarity or communicating with an endpoint really helps. Imagine it as kind of an anchor. You have an anchor whenever you're talking about something. You have an anchor to go around and then go back to that same point at the very end. That way you're making sure that you're conveying what your point was. Next is repeating back what they said. This is, again, another way that you make sure that the person feels that they are understood, not just heard, is repeating back what they said. So if they are giving you feedback, you will say, oh, this is what I hear from you. When you're doing that, you're really putting the clarity. You're really telling them how you received it so they can correct it if it's wrong. So you say, this is what I heard from you. I really need to work on my own skills of being able to do this one thing, and this is what I'm going to be doing moving forward. So again, you're kind of taking back again what they just said, putting it out there so they can hear again what they just said also, and knowing that you really got the right picture, and then putting back like, okay, this is now what I'm going to do moving forward. Next is wrap up meetings with a check on to-dos. So one of the ways that you can avoid miscommunications and of course also upgrade your communication skills is every time that you have a meeting with a client, with a coworker, with one of your employees, try to always go back. Okay, so is everyone clear? Again, clarity. Is everyone clear with what they're supposed to do moving forward? So that's what I mean with wrapping up meetings with a check on to-dos. Where you guys are at on this, is there an update on this one? Last meeting we said that we were going to do this. Was this actually accomplished? And of course, if you can, join Toastmasters. There's a lot of local chapters in the Philippines. You just try to find, if you go to Toastmasters website, you can try to find one that's local to you. But lately what they've done, which is amazing, is just they're all doing it online, so you don't have to meet in person. But if you've never heard of Toastmasters, it's a club where you are able to really upgrade your public speaking skills, because you're given a prompt usually of what speech to write, and then you have like a few minutes. I'm not fully 100% sure what their format is now. That was 5 years ago when I joined. And like I said, you're able to really practice. You're able to really see what your limits are and actually improve upon them, because they also give you feedback. And of course, last thing is to practice a lot. One of the reasons why I can speak English this eloquently is I actually did 100 videos every day for 100 days last year. And it was all in English because I really wanted to master how to speak on camera in English, and because I was just starting out my YouTube channel at that time, so I really practiced a lot, and then I'm now at this point. So if you really want to get better at this, of course, just practice a lot. Now, let me know in the comments which of these tips you are going to be implementing really soon, while I sip on my very large 2-liter water bottle because I am getting a little bit thirsty. Which of these tips are you going to start implementing and start doing right away? Please let me know. I would love to know. Yay, we have a couple of people. We have a couple of business owners. Yay, that's amazing. Very, very cool. Yeah, let me know from these 6 things, if you want to work on your communication skills, which of these 6 are you looking to actually do? Okay, so the next soft skills is your time management skills, which as a mom, all of you probably know how important it is to have really good time management skills. So of course, the uses for this is you become a more effective employee or business owner also, or a business partner, because of course you know your limits, you know how long things will take you, you know how to prioritize things as well. So you just become all in all, just a more effective person. It also trains you to be a manager. One of the misconceptions that you think about when you get promoted to manager, or when you become a business owner where you're managing a group of people, is that you think that you're going to be doing a lot more work. But the truth is, when you're a manager, that's where the word comes from, you're managing other people's time. You're seeing how long it will take them to do a certain task, to finish a project. So if you have really good time management skills, then you are someone who is going to be so much faster at knowing when projects are going to be done, which is of course a super valuable trait to have if you're going to be someone who's going to be working at project or long term, or working with multiple clients. Again, it basically trains you how to be good at prioritizing, especially when it comes to projects, especially if you have multiple projects with multiple clients. And of course, it makes you better just at handling deadlines, because you know how long things take. You know that if there's one delay, you know how to adjust and move forward, and be able to know that, okay, because this person is, because there was something that delayed them into moving forward, I'm going to be able to estimate like how long is the project going to really take. So it just makes you also, if it's something that you want, it just makes you a better project manager as well. And of course, develops discipline. This is something that for a lot of people who are new to working from home, time management skills is actually one of the first things that I recommend that they learn, because it's going to be so much harder for you to get up and work when you are getting up and working in the same bedroom. So being able to be a good time manager develops that discipline to be able to know when to work and when to stop working as well. So how do you actually improve your time management skills? First is work in time blocks. So time blocks, if you've never heard of it, is basically categorizing your tasks into a certain category, into a certain project, or into a certain block, where you are then committing to work on this for this time. One of the misconceptions about time blocks is you set like, okay, I'm going to be working on this for 1 hour, even though it's a task that's going to take you just 20 minutes. One of the things that our brain does is that if we say that we're going to take 1 hour to finish the task, we are going to take 1 hour to finish the task. So working in time blocks means that you're going to be working in intervals of 25 or 30 minutes, where you're really blocking off, this is when I'm going to get done. If I need more time, then I need more time, but you are really blocking out that time to make sure that you actually get it done, or at least move it forward. And then next thing is reassess projects every week. What I mean by this is look at where your projects are at and see if they're in the right order, if in the right priority, if the tasks underneath that project is actually necessary. And this is what I mean, is make sure, because sometimes we do this where we add just a million things on our task or to-do list, and we actually don't assess or look at like, do I actually need to do this, or can I give this to someone else, or can I do this at a later date? So you're reassessing those things to make sure that you are on track. Next is document the things that you have accomplished. So for me, I don't delete any of my tasks, because then I am able to see when I did a certain task, for example, or if it's pending for with someone else, for example. So document the things that you've accomplished, so then you have a clear record of, one, how long things do actually take you, and two, so you can go back and see like when you actually finished it. Next is then prioritize projects based on what you need to do and what you shouldn't be doing. Like I said earlier, a lot of the time we start creating or adding things into our list that we actually don't need to do, and I'm super guilty of this sometimes, where I just keep adding and adding things, and I look at it, I'm like, why is this here still in my to-do list 3 months later, or a year later, even worse? So prioritize projects, look at it, always try to assess the things that you shouldn't be doing, not just the things that you should be doing. Okay, so we have some people who want to join Toastmasters. So basically the question now is, in time management skills, if this is something that you want to work on, which of these 5 do you actually want to do? Which of these 5 are you willing to work on in the next 20 days, 23 days, 22 days, for the rest of the last few days of 2020, basically, so you can really kickstart your 2021 in the right way? Let me know in the comments. I would love to really find out where you're at, and maybe I can help you or give you a few more tips if you need it. Okay, so one of the other things that I would really love to be able to teach you if you really want to be better at time management is, this is how I usually prioritize my tasks. Now, there's a lot of different task management ways, but this is one that I subscribe to, which is the Eisenhower matrix, which is categorizing your tasks into these four quadrants. Now, the first quadrant is if it's a task that's urgent, so it needs to be done between 24 to 48 hours, and it's important, so it either moves something forward or makes you money. That is something that you have to do right away. The next one, the not urgent, is these are like not really timed, or they're getting done next week or next month, so these are not urgent but important. So again, they're making you money or moving something forward in some way. You want to plan then, when do you actually want to do this, and like putting that, and then of course eventually move into urgent and important, but you want to plan how do you actually want to do this, if you can, if there has to be a step-by-step way to be able to do this. Third quadrant is urgent but not important. There's a lot of tasks that sometimes fall into our to-do list that seem urgent, seem like you have to do it, but you're actually looking at like, no, this is not like super important, but I can give it to someone else. So for me, I have my super awesome assistant, I think she's also watching, Christina, who helps me focus on the things that are important to me, and then she focuses on the things that are urgent but not super important. So I delegate it to her. I'm able to ask for her help on that. And then the fourth quadrant is not urgent and not important. This is what I mean, that you have to really assess your tasks or your projects a lot, because sometimes we have things on our list that we actually have to eliminate, that we actually have to like stop putting off or stop forwarding to the next week. So it makes our lives easier because we're not holding things in our brain. So this is the Eisenhower matrix. I hope that helps. This has helped my life a lot of times, so I hope it helps you. So next soft skill is your creativity skills. Now, any creatives, let me know in the comments. I would love to know, and give you a little bit of a shout out. So the uses, of course, is you can create products from scratch because you're a creative. And then you can find shortcuts to help tasks finish faster because you are not looking at things in a straight line. You're seeing like, is there a shortcut to this? Is there a way that I can, get from A to B faster or easier? It's not being labeled as lazy, but you are labeled as someone who is creative because you're seeing things from a different point of view. And of course, it keeps you learning for life. If you're a creative, you're always finding ways. It's kind of being solutions oriented in that way, but you're also someone who can create things from scratch, like I said, or you're someone who could create like written documents, articles, or graphics, or video editing. That is your creativity skills. Now, how do you actually develop that? How do you work on that? So first thing is look at how others do it. This is something that I do a lot. If I am stuck on a particular video, for example, that I'm making for YouTube, if I'm stuck with a article that I'm writing, I look at how others did it, because a lot of the time, a lot of what we're going through, a lot of the problems that we're going through, someone probably already went through it, or else you're going to be the pioneer for it. So try to do research, try to make Google your best friend. I'm going to see this a couple of times, but there's always going to be mentors out there for you to be able to keep touch, to be able to also learn from. So try to find mentors for anything that you're trying to learn right now, any skill, any kind of mindset that you're trying to learn, find mentors. Next is be open to other possibilities. Again, being creative is not looking at things in a straight line. You're always finding the U-turns, the hard right to be able to move forward. Next is experiment on what you're going to see, what you're doing to see if there's a better way. So what I mean by this is it could be assessing, reassessing, kind of like earlier, reassessing your tasks or your projects. A lot of the time, we are so used to knowing that 1 + 1 is equal to 2. And this is kind of a bad example. 1 + 1 is equal to 2. But then there's a more efficient way to find out, how to add things. Or I've seen so many math geniuses find a way to go through like the 9 by 10, not 9 multiplication table, like how to do that in reverse, like doing the 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and then going reverse the other way. That's being creative. You're finding creative ways, you're finding other ways to solve a particular problem. So that's what I mean on try to experiment. if you are, like for example, for me, I have multiple plants. By the way, I'm not a mom myself. I am a plant mom. I have multiple plants. So the creative way that I would make sure that I would keep them alive is I have a table on my Notion page where I just check off if I fed them or not, if I water them or not. So that was my creative way to make sure that I don't fall off the track. So that's part of that. And of course, finding the fun is super important, because if you're just looking things at a straight line, it's going to be harder for you to be creative. So finding the fun could be making sure that if you finish a particular task, you put it where you take, you have a GIF that flashes like, yeah, you did this task. Or if you found a new shortcut, you celebrate it in some way. And of course, and this is super, super duper important, is always try to choose the content you consume. A lot of the time, we just consume whatever is on TV. We just consume whatever is told, whatever people tell us to consume. But the truth of it is, if you want to be more creative, you have to really choose what you put in, because what you put in, you put out. So if you keep reading, for example, as an example, articles where they're mostly lists, you are probably going to be writing articles that are mostly lists. If you're watching YouTube videos that are mostly like vlogs, like life vlogs, you're probably going to be creating a life vlog yourself. That is always going to be true no matter what. So try to really consume content that you know is going to move you forward to whatever skill or whatever soft skill that you want to learn. So before I move to the next one, which of these are you going to implement if you want to be better at your creativity skills? Which one of these 5 are you actually going to do? I would love to know. So we had a couple of people earlier said that they were going to practice a lot. That is great. Someone says 1 and 5. That is very awesome. Again, feel free to leave any questions. I'll try to scroll up later. If there's any questions that I might have missed, I would love to help you all in some way. Okay, next one is problem solving skills. So this is a little bit kind of like the creativity skills, but this is now more on being someone who is solutions oriented. So of course the uses is it helps you figure things out on your own. You don't need to always ask for your manager's help or your boss's help or anyone else's help, because you know that you're someone within yourself, you're a little bit independent and you're willing to figure it out. You are of course easily able to create solutions to problems that come up a lot. When you are a problem solver, you start seeing patterns. You start knowing that if I'll give a fun example. If one of your coworkers don't have their video on Zoom, they might be having a bad day, kind of something like that. So you notice the things that most people won't. And of course, it enables you to take control of the situation, whatever that looks like. So if you are, if things are on fire, you're able to look at things. I'm like, okay, where is this fire coming from? Instead of panicking, you're looking at where the fire is coming from so you can put it out. So that's, of course, a lot of the uses of having really good problem solving skills. So how do you actually develop this? So one is don't complain. So what I mean by don't complain is it's not that you can't express a negative thought, but what I mean by is if you see a problem, you state it with the intent of solving it. So that's what I mean by it. If you're complaining about something, like if it's a hot day or something bad happened, but you are just stating it to someone else who either can't really help you or doesn't really care, that's complaining. You're just talking to someone who you're passing on that negativity to someone else. But what I mean with don't complain is whenever a problem arises, try to already see or ask a person, hey, I saw this, if they're the person who can solve it, hey, I saw this, can I ask you for your help for this? Or it could be that when you're stating like, hey, I saw this is what I think we should do, what do you think? So that's what I mean by don't complain, is whenever problems come up, don't just state them out of just telling that there's a problem, but also try to move forward towards a solution already. And this is what I mean. Approach your boss with the solution, not a problem. So when you're approaching your boss or your manager or your client, when you see a problem, you're already telling them, like, hey, I saw this is how I think we should solve it. What do you think? So kind of like what I just said earlier. Next is learn the habit of researching. Again, make Google your best friend. Anytime you don't know something, you literally have the power of libraries in your fingertips. So utilize that. put it into your kids' heads also. That's something that I teach my own sisters a lot, is like Google is your best friend. If you don't know anything, there's probably someone who does. So learn the habit of researching as much as possible. Research the people that you're about to do an interview with. Research the company you're about to work for. Research, what are the common things that they usually have problems with. You can ask, one of the current employees, they're like, hey, if I come in, what is the problem I'm actually solving? So that's what I mean by that. And I'm going to take this. Learn to pause. A lot of the time when things are on fire, we try to either panic or try to go into it without actually pausing and seeing where things are at. So kind of the example that I said earlier, instead of rushing or panicking about the fire, you're trying to look, okay, where is this fire coming from and how can I stop it so it doesn't spread? Next is the mindset of responding versus reacting. So for example, this is something that I use a lot, especially when I'm teaching moms, is let's say that you're in the sala and you hear from the kitchen something breaking, and then you hear your kid crying. And responding versus reacting here, reacting is you will either panic yourself or you get mad right away without seeing or assessing the situation. Responding is seeing or finding that the kid actually slipped in water and that's why they broke whatever it was that they broke. So that's what respond versus react is. You are choosing to pause and actually look at the situation so you can see what is the better response, because then at this point your kid is already hurt. You getting mad or panicking with them won't really help. So you're again moving towards a solution rather than looking at just the problem. And of course, lastly is take action. You can't keep analyzing, you can't keep just bringing up solutions without then figuring out how to move them forward. So again, I'm going to ask, which one of the problem solving skills, which one of these 6 tips are you, let me check if there's one more, okay, are you going to start implementing in your own life? Feel free to drop.
Hi, my name is MK. I'm the founder of Filipino Home-Based Moms, or FHMoms. What we do is we help Filipino mothers inside and outside the Philippines to get an online job, and now we are expanding to helping more.
Oh, technical difficulties, everyone. I apologize for that, especially for those who were on their earphones. Okay. Okay, so we have a few people who said that they want to learn the habit of researching. That's good. Not complaining. Respond versus react. Yep. So again, I am not a mom myself. I am an ate though of 9 cousins. This is where I'm all getting my experience from of being a mother. So yeah. Okay, so next one is teamwork skills. So if you're someone who is going to be working in a company full-time, for example, or you're just going to be working with multiple people, this is an essential skill to really have, because it won't really do you good to be super independent. You will need the skills of other people as well. So of course the uses of this is, again, it's easier to work with other people, especially if you're trying to solve a similar problem. It's easier to also hit company goals because you're working with other people to move this forward. You're not doing it alone. So tips on how to improve this: one is get to know your team. If you are someone who's new, try to schedule a quick Zoom call, even just 15 minutes to get to know them. It could be, if you can, be safe, taking them out to tea or coffee. Again, it's knowing, because it's knowing that they have a life outside of work, because you do too. So try to get to know them that way, because it's going to be easier for you to work with them if you know a little bit more about them. Because, for example, let's say people are always going through something that we don't know. Let's say their kid is actually sick right now. You're a little bit more, your response to that is usually you're more empathetic when they can't finish deadlines, for example, or they aren't able to get to do what they did. Of course you don't always let them get away with it every time, but when you get to know them, you are not as strict with them, because you know that they do have a life outside of just work. Next is have clarity and boundaries when it comes to tasks. You could either ask them like, okay, I'm only working from 9 o'clock to 2 p.m. And then I'll resume working at 7 o'clock. Because I'll take care of my kids, or I'll take a house. I'm doing this one other thing. So you are making sure that they know where you are at, so then they can also let you know as well. Because teamwork really works if you have really good communication. So if you really want to develop this, you really have to think about, okay, what are the times that they can't call me? What are the times that I can't call them? And what are their limits as well? So then there's just less friction when it comes to working, especially if you're working with a lot of people. Next is learn how to ask and give feedback. So there's a book, and I have books, by the way, at the end of this presentation, books that I recommend if you really want to upgrade your soft skills. Is one of the books I recommend is 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard, and it's basically a book where it teaches you, and it's told through a story. I love it every time. I've read it at least 10-20 times in the last 5 years, because it's really good. But the point of this is to learn not to give someone like, hey, you did this wrong. It's learning how to separate the person and the action, because that happens a lot of the time. We tell people like, oh, you're just lazy because you didn't finish this one task. In reality, oh, you didn't finish this one task, I expected better from you. I know you're this person who's action oriented, and would love to see that more in the future. So that's what I mean by giving effective feedback. And of course, receiving feedback is also as important. It's also keeping in mind that when you do receive feedback, it's usually not personal, it's usually not an attack, it's just a hope for a better outcome in the future. And one of the things that really, really helps is just asking someone, how can I help? If, for example, you finish your tasks early, or you're noticing someone is having a hard time, you can just ask them, how can I help? Because a lot of the time we can be too shy, and this is very much because I've worked with a lot of different cultures, this is very much a Filipino culture where we sometimes get too shy when we're stuck on something. You know how that feels, so asking someone like, hey, how can I help? Not do you need help, but how can I help? You're coming in you're coming in like, hey, I'm here if you need anything, or if you need fresh eyes on this one task. So then you're coming in as a person that they know that, oh, thank God this person actually wants to help, and not just pushing themselves towards me. And then again, be aware of people's lives outside of work, because they do have it. That's why it's really better if you really get to know your team. Now, before we go to adaptability skills, which of these tips are you going to start implementing? And keep in mind, you're commenting and other people are seeing this, so I'm trying to hold you accountable to it as I drink my 2-liter water bottle. Okay. Thank you, by the way, for those who are tagging their friends. I really highly appreciate it, especially if you know someone who really wants to work on their soft skills. So if people who someone said ask and give feedback, it's such a really good skill to know how to give and ask for feedback from people, because it really grows you a lot. Nez said number 2, which is good. Okay, so next one is adaptability skills. Now, the uses of it, of course, is the world can shift fast. Being able to shift with it is valuable. You probably have learned this lesson so hard during this last year, is that the world can shift so fast. So having the really good or high adaptability skills will really help you. And of course, sometimes you have to wear multiple hats. So one not super sad story, but still sad story, is at one point when we were still starting out our company, we actually had to let go a couple of people in our company who were starting to become a little bit toxic. And I ended up becoming the book editor, the graphic artist, the marketing, and also the author agent. So I wore multiple hats at one time, and I still do from time to time. I know I have to be flexible enough or adaptable enough to know that things can go wrong. People get sick, people can't come in, and I have to come in and still show up for those clients, especially if they're clients who are paying us a lot. So having the right adaptability skills lessens the friction of things. When things go wrong, you can still move forward. And of course, you can only grow if you keep moving. Nothing will come to you if you're just sitting in your chair and not pushing yourself in some way, or not growing yourself in some way. So how do you actually have better adaptability skills? One is be curious. And this is actually one of my values, is staying curious whenever there's something that comes up, because the best way to be adaptable is to try to not fully foresee, not predict, but you are able to, again, you're able to see patterns. You're able to see like, oh, this is coming up next. So for example, for me, it's December, 13th month is coming up next, so I have to budget it. I have to keep in mind, like, paying people on time. So that's what I mean with being curious, is you're trying to see things beyond what they seem, beyond what they look like. And of course, one thing that super helps in being adaptable is know your worth, but put ego aside. What I mean by this is kind of going back to the example that I had earlier, where we had to let go of a bunch of people early on, as I just took over being CEO. Is I knew my worth. I knew that I was going to be so much better if I was looking at strategy, if I was looking like, okay, these are different ways that we can get more sales, for example. But I had to put my ego aside, so then someone else can do, someone can actually get the work done in being able to move the company forward. So it's always nice to know that you are valued, but it's another thing to know that sometimes, again, things don't always go as planned. Things don't always aren't perfect when they come up. So being able to put your ego aside really helps you be able to move forward, rather than get stuck because you want this. You just want this one thing, but it's not getting met. You have to put that ego aside, or else you're going to get stuck there for longer than you want it to. 3 is try something new every quarter. One of them right now is my new hair. But what I mean with try something new every quarter, it's connected with being curious. So it could be that you're learning, for 2-3 months this year, I learned how to do a headstand. So that was me being adaptable. That was me being curious. It could be that you're trying out a new way to work, or you're trying out a new coffee shop. It could be some small thing, but the point of it is to keep yourself learning, is to keep yourself seeing how other situations play out. Actually, and I just thought of it, one actually really big way that you can learn to be more adaptable is reading a lot of fantasy books. And it sounds weird, but it's because it's the adventure part. You get to see how other people or fiction characters react to situations. I've definitely learned to be more flexible because I read a lot of fiction books, and right now I'm actually finishing my series. But that point aside, try to experiment. Try to see if you can do something better, if you can do something in a new way, because it will always surprise you. And of course, study and learn. Again, at the end of this, I have books that I really recommend that you study if you want to be better at your soft skills. It's always going to be, again, there's always going to be someone who learned something before you came across that problem. So studying and learning from those people is going to be so much, it's just going to be really big for you as you go into this journey. And of course, be persistent, but know that you can change the plan, not the goal. So for example, one of the goals that we had this year within our company was I was going to be able to do a lot of public speaking events in a lot of different cities or even countries. And of course, the pandemic happened, and I just had to change the plan. The goal still happened. I was still able to do, I think I did 25 public speaking gigs this year, which is awesome. So I changed the plan, and it was all virtual. I never had to leave my house, which is now why I have this mini studio here, because I did a lot of speaking events. So that's what I mean by you have to still be persistent. If you have a particular goal, you have to learn to be adaptable so you can still reach that goal, whatever that looks like. And lastly is learn to be resourceful. Again, Google is your friend. It's going to be there. It's probably listening to me right now because, they're always listening. But know that you have information at your fingertips. You have libraries that you usually have to go to a physical library and search for it rather than just typing it out on your phone and being able to find it. So know that there is always a way. If there's not, you ask people who have found a way before. So that is what it means to be resourceful. Now, let me know in the comments who here wants to take one of the tips here for adaptability skills and be able to take it into real life. Again, it is a multiplicative effect. I always have a hard time saying that when it comes to taking action and learning something. So let me know. Hi to everyone who is coming in. For those who are joining us right now, again, feel free to tag your any of your friends who you think they need this training, the soft skills training, and later on I'll go back and go through the questions that we have here. It's just going sometimes a little bit too fast, so I can't answer all of them one by one. So yeah. Okay, so we have Kit says that she's going to do 4, which is study and learn. Make sure to stick until the end, because I do have really good books to recommend. So next is self-confidence skills. Now this is something that I know a lot of us struggle with. I still struggle with it from time to time. So this is something that I'm hoping for a lot of you who are watching, or listening, this part will help you a lot. So uses, of course, is all other skills are easier to implement. If you have really good self-confidence skills, it's easier for you to be a communicator. It's easier for you to be adaptable. It's easier for you to do everything else in this list. And then, of course, you are able to ask questions and put forth solutions to the team. If you're someone who's already a problem solver, but you're too shy to actually tell them that you have a solution, it's probably kind of a wasted effort. So if you build on your self-confidence skills, you're able to put forth, again, suggestions, better ways to do it. You're able to tell them the shortcuts that you found. And of course, you're able to know your worth and what you can do, which is, again, super important if you want to move forward, if you want to know what are the things that you're bringing to the table, what are the things that you know that are your strengths, and you also know your weaknesses, not just the things that you can do, but the things that you can't do as well. And you're of course being able to take initiative. And honestly, as a boss, this is so priceless, is having someone who can take initiative. One initiative is, I should probably spell check that. That's a wrong spelling. I apologize. But but that's what I'm going back to is saying is, as a boss, as someone who manages a lot of people, when someone takes initiative, when someone shows me that they want to do something beyond what I asked them, that is always like, oh, I should watch this person. I should really either watch them out for giving them a promotion or giving a raise or even just a bonus, because it's always invaluable when someone takes initiative. So how then do you actually improve your self-confidence skills? So one is, have a goal. Imagine if your goal, so my goal is to start an office in New York City so I can hire Filipinos to work from home. That's my goal. That's my long-term goal. That's my big, hairy, audacious goal. I am able to be more confident moving things forward in that direction because I know where I'm going. Imagine if I didn't have that goal. Imagine if my goal was to climb Mount Everest. It doesn't make sense for me to start an executive assistant company in Cebu. I'm not motivated. I don't want to move that towards, I want to keep working on my fitness goals then if I'm going to climb Mount Everest. So that is why having a goal is really invaluable, because you are able to, again, move forward with more confidence within yourself, that you know what you're bringing to the table, what you're going towards, and it's going to be easier for you to direct yourself as well. And then, of course, know where else you can contribute in the business. So a lot of what you need to do here is really a lot of introspection. So what that means is looking into yourself. Okay, what are the things that I'm good at? What are the things that people ask me for advice a lot? What are the things that people ask me to fix a lot? So then you will know where you can put yourself when different situations arise. And one thing, to build up your self-confidence, you have to take rejections, because a lot of the time we feel that we're confident, but in truth, the moment that we get one rejection, we kind of crumble, and that is not true self-confidence. True self-confidence is being able to take rejections and know that you can move forward. So if you really want to work on this, actually be in sales. That's one tip that I have, and that's something that I did myself, is actually went into sales and got rejection letters. I got get me off of your list. I got the, I don't know what this is about, and I don't want to talk to you anymore. So learn how to take rejections. And of course, take care of yourself. You can only be as confident if you know that you are taking care of yourself, mind, body, and what's that? Mind, body, and soul. So, put time for yourself, put time to grow yourself. So that's part of taking care of yourself. Makes it easier to be confident if you know what you're being confident about. And of course, learn to set personal boundaries. You can only be confident when you know that people aren't going to be stepping over you. You can learn how to be confident when you know that this is your limit. You can go past that limit, but at this point, this is where you want to be at. So that's what I mean with making sure that you set personal boundaries with your family, with your friends, with your coworkers. And of course, again, reflect often. A lot of being self-confident is to be introspective, into looking into yourself, looking into what you're thinking, why you're thinking this way. One really huge tip is try journaling if you can. I have a ton of notebooks in just one box of like 6 years, I don't know, probably more than that, 12 years probably of journaling. And it helps me every time. I'll write down, like, I'm feeling anxious today. Why? This is why. I'm feeling this way because this happened or that happened. So then I'm able to move myself forward in a more confident manner. So again, which one of these 6 are you willing to implement in the next, hopefully by next year, or in the next 10 days maybe, or 7 days? Yes, love yourself, boss. Love yourself first. Yeah. Let me know which one of these 6 are you going to start implementing. Okay, so next is, once you have self-confidence, the next thing is self-motivation. So of course the uses of this is you're able to easily handle ups and downs in life. You're able to be self-sufficient because you can move things without people pushing you, and you can become more consistent. When you are someone who's self-motivated, it's going to be so much easier to work with you as a person also, because then I don't have to worry about having to inspire you every time, because I know that you can do it yourself. So how do you actually become more self-motivated? So first thing is, keep in mind your goals. That's why having your goals helps your self-confidence, because it moves you forward. You have a direction, you have a pull of where you want to go in life, and it's going to be so much easier for you to actually get there because you know where you're going. 2 is being aware of what you're feeding your brain. So this is what I mean earlier of choose the content that you consume, because if you keep consuming the news, for example, it's good to be aware of where the world is at, but not constantly. Choose when you watch the news or you read the news on your Facebook. Make it a choice, not something that has to be mandated to you. So one thing that I really had to do is actually unfollowed a lot of the news Facebook pages, because then I was just getting news at any time. So then I'm now choosing to when to go, like check for updates, and then go back to where my brain was at, because it can be so tempting to go down a rabbit hole of what ifs, especially when things are still developing. So again, be aware of what you're feeding your brain. If you're going to be feeding it mostly by motivation quotes, if you're going to feed it by watching TED Talks, for example, or reading a lot of self-development books, that's what you're going to be. If you're just going to keep feeding it with things that don't matter, if you're going to start feeding it with quick rich schemes, then that's going to be where you're going. So and be aware of that. And of course, choose where you spend your energy on. So it's the same thing as what you're feeding your brain. If you're going to be spending your energy on worrying, that's all you're going to be able to do, and you're not going to be able to motivate yourself. So try to look at what are you spending your energy on right now, and if it's not giving you some sort of joy or moving forward towards your goal, then you probably want to spend less time on it. And 4th thing, and this is easier said than done, is only compare yourself to yourself. A lot of the time, because of Facebook, because of Instagram, because of social media in general, we have the sana all mindset. We have the, it was my life would be so much better if I had that job, or if I had that car, if I had that house. But the reality is, when you keep looking at those, when you keep looking at successful people, it's going to be harder for you to get yourself up. So again, be aware of what you're feeding your brain, and know that you might be looking at someone who's super successful, but you never saw them at their worst, or you don't know what else is like in their backstory of how they got there. They might have had, rich parents, for example, or they might have had parents who taught them financial lessons earlier on, so they were able to succeed in that way. You don't know what you see beyond the Facebook post or the Instagram post. So only compare yourself to yourself. And of course, baby steps. I always say this: if you really can't move forward, just do baby steps. For me, and if I'm open about this, I have a depression from time to time, still have it sometimes, and my baby steps for that is just get up. If I don't want to get from bed, that's my goal, is to get to this chair. Then the next goal is to eat something. Then the next goal is I'm taking baby steps to get myself out of that state. So if you really can't make it, if you really can't do it, just take baby steps. It doesn't have to be a leap. It can just be the next step. Next is having your decision-making skills, or honing your decision-making skills. Of course, the uses... Oh, before I go to that, I forgot. Which one of these tips are you going to do moving forward, hopefully for 2021? Let me know if you're working on your self-motivation skills. Okay, again, I'll go through the comments after I'm done. I can see so many comments coming in that I don't want to get slowed down for that, so I'll keep going. So next is decision-making skills. Uses, of course, again, it helps you save time and money. If you're someone who's stuck on a particular thing, especially if you're either getting paid for it, it's going to be wasting you so much time and money to be able to actually decide on the next thing. Of course, it also increases self-confidence because you know that when crisis comes, you can decide on it. It develops your critical thinking skills, and it moves you forward easily to the next thing. So how do you actually develop this? One is define the problem. A lot of the time we think that we know the problem, but we actually never defined it. So try to, again, as much as possible, take a step back, use that pause and actually define it. Okay, this is the actual problem, and now this is what we're going to do moving forward. Next is ask for perspective from others. A lot of the time we have a problem, but if we ask someone else, they're like, oh, that's easy to solve. That's, again, a lot of what you're going through, someone else probably already finished or got through the other side. Next is asking yourself what else is possible outside of this. A lot of time when we have a problem, we get stuck on a loop or a circle, and it's harder for us to see past beyond that, if there's another solution, if there's another way to do a certain thing. So asking yourself, okay, what else is possible outside of this is going to help you break out of that circle, break out of that cage basically that you put yourself, and think in some other way. And of course, evaluate your choices, see, and if you want to create your pros and cons, don't take too long, evaluate your choices, which one's actually the best, and of course take action. Again, you can have the most devious plan, or the perfect plan, of how to solve world hunger, but if you don't actually take action, people are still going to be hungry. So keep that in mind. And of course, one important thing about decision making is then that you can iterate. So iterate is the action where if something fails, you go back to where the state was, and then you move forward and you decide based on that. So for example, let's say you're running Facebook ads, and you come out with this one graphic, and it's not making the same kind of results that you were expecting. So you change that graphic, you make the decision to change that, and you see that it tanked, it went down. So then iteration is going back to the same graphic that you were at, so you can keep that level, and then moving forward, until you find that graphic that helps you take off. So that's what I mean with iterate is, whenever something fails, whenever something doesn't work, just go back to whatever the status was before, and then try to see what else you can do better. So this is a decision tree. This is why it's super important for you to make a decision right away instead of getting stuck. So for example, do you want a book? Yes. You're able to move forward towards this branch rather than being stuck in these two decisions. So you can see how deciding right away helps you really move forward instead of just being stuck in, do you want a book? And then you go through, do you like it? Yes or no? Are you sure? Buy it. You need to wait. This is the struggle that I go through when I'm at the bookstore, when I'm at Fully Booked. But you can see how every time that you make a decision, there's always going to be another decision to make. And it's only when you move forward that you can then see what are the other options for you, and how you can move forward as well. So which one of these 6, if you want to improve your decision making skills, are you going to be implementing in the next couple of days? Let me know in the comments, and I would love to kind of just get to know where you're at. And again, if you have any questions at any point as I'm going through the list, let me know. Okay, so this one is something that for a lot of you, it's not the easiest one. It's not also something that you are always taught or readily taught unless you were in that position. So for example, I learned my leadership skills being an ate. That's why I'm the virtual ate. But this is something that even if you are not in a managerial position, having leadership skills is so invaluable. So of course, the uses of it is important if you want to move up in a certain company. If you're in a full-time job where you're moving up, you have different positions that you can take. Having leadership skills help Two is, or next one is applicable to work or personal life. Imagine if you were going to start a nonprofit organization and you are moving something forward. Having leadership skills, being the person that they can look up to and know that they can trust you, is such, again, invaluable. Next is, it teaches you a lot about yourself. If I've learned anything in the last 5 years being CEO, I've learned more about who Leanne is, because I know my limits, I know how I can help people, I know my strengths and my weaknesses. So it really pushes you towards that limit, whatever your current limit is. And of course, it's easier for self-development, because it's not about just leading other people, it's also about leading yourself. So how do you now improve your leadership skills if this is something that you want to do? So one, find a coach. Again, a lot of the problems that you're probably going through, someone already went through it and got to the other side. So find a coach. If you have a certain goal already, find a coach who has either gone there, or there's always two ways that I describe a mentor. So a mentor is someone who has what you have. So for example, let's say you want to be a billionaire, and this is an example that I used before he got president, but one person you can look up to is Donald Trump. So he has what you want, right? But the second thing that you have to keep in mind if you want to have a mentor is they need to have been where you are. Now, Donald Trump already had a rich family, so they haven't been where I have been. So someone who could be a little bit closer maybe is Robert Kiyosaki, who did start from, a little bit lower middle class. So find people who not just have what you want, but also have been through where you are, so they can better guide you, away from the mistakes that they did, so then you can have a better path versus what they went through. And also, having a coach just really teaches you also how to be a coach to someone else, which is another leadership skill. Next is try to experiment with your leadership style. So for me, I really learned a lot that I am not a micromanager. I don't like following people around. I like having people learn things or make mistakes on their own so they can move forward. So I really experimented with that. So try to see what is a way that you can work with other people, what is a better way that you can work with other people. Next is learn how to create systems. If you're someone who is able to take a big mess and put it together and make it look like a checklist that people can just go through at any time, then you are someone who knows how to create a system. You're someone who can help replicate a solution over and over again. So again, that's an invaluable skill. So if you want to be a leader, then try to establish yourself as someone who can create systems. And the next thing is start developing a vision. The reason why we love products like Apple or Samsung is they have a vision. They have something that they're trying to do in the world. They're doing something to make the dent in the world. So if you're someone who wants to be a leader or seen as a leader, you have to start developing your own vision. So again, for me, it's being able to start a company in the US and have all of the employees be working from home Filipinos, mostly because for most of my life, my dad was an overseas worker. I only saw him 3 times a year, sometimes for just a week or 1 month. So if I was lucky. So I developed that vision of this is where I want to go because I want more parents working from home. So I developed that vision. I developed Virtual Ate. I developed my YouTube channel, developed my courses from that vision. So I was able to move forward in that way. And last thing is learn how to delegate. Learn how to effectively tell people what to do and make sure that it actually gets done. So for those who want to learn more about their leadership skills, which one of these 5 tips are you willing to implement or willing to do? Let me know in the comments. So like I said, I do have recommended reading for everyone or anyone who wants to learn more about their soft skills. All of these books are usually available in Fully Booked or National Bookstore. You can look them up online. I have physical copies of all these 5 books, and I bought them. I think all of them from Fully Booked. But that's usually because they're closer to us. But if you really want to upgrade yourself, upgrade your skills, your soft skills, these 5 books are going to be super helpful for you. And by the way, this is the book on how to ask and give feedback. This is the book that I was talking about earlier. So that is it for tonight. Well, I'll be going through your questions, but that is it for the presentation. Again, feel free to message me on Facebook or Instagram, or connect with me on LinkedIn as well, and feel free to also check out my YouTube channel. So let me go through your questions so I'm able to make sure that if there was any confusion or if there's anything that I skipped, I'm able to go through. So let me see. Again, this is also the time that you can try dropping any questions that you might have also about soft skills. So I'm able to go through them and help. I can't see, Sally, I can't see other comments earlier than 7:44 p.m. I apologize, but you can just ask them again in the comments. Someone said, thank you, Mom. I watched your last live for helping. I try to take a video every day that helps me in my communication skills. That's awesome. Okay, we have someone watching from Eastern Samar. That's so close to Tacloban, where I'm originally from. Okay, so tell us more what it is to have an ego. So an ego is when you think of yourself as either better than everyone else, or you let me stop sharing my screen so you guys can see me. So ego is this is how I define it, and you can there's probably a ton of examples or better ways to define ego, but that's when you, for this situation, for your soft skills, it's when you think that you're better than everyone else. So you have tasks that are either you think are beneath you, for example, or you have tasks that are not even worth doing, not even in your level. So that was what I mean, that you have to know your worth, but you have to put down your ego because things happen, plans change, so you have to keep that in mind. Let me go through and see if there's any other questions. Des said earlier, should try something new and you'll be able to surprise to know your capabilities exactly. Let me see. We have a question from Christia. Basically, what if the bosses are the one who let you down? They're the one who doesn't listen. All they want for you is provide for them. So there's a couple ways to deal with bad bosses. One is to actually, and this is a scary one. One is to actually confront them, which is, I know, scarier and again easier said than done. Two is to actually try to see why they're that way. Sometimes when there's just a lack of communication of how you want to receive feedback, then it's going to be harder for you to talk to the person, to actually negotiate with the person. So if you have a bad boss right like that, who doesn't want to listen, who doesn't want to give you feedback, then try to see why. Try to talk to them if you can, not in a confrontational way, but in a, hey, is this something that you can give me? Is this something that we can talk about? Is this something that we can work on? So hopefully that helps on how to deal with that kind of a boss. It's a little bit harder if they themselves are not open to it. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Let me see if there's any other questions. A ton of people want to take action. That is so awesome. Let me see. Some people want to have to take rejections. That's awesome. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Gina, for that comment. Yeah, let me know if there's any other questions that you guys might have about soft skills. Yep. I'm glad that you guys are liking the only compare yourself to yourself, because that's easier to be imagined, but it's harder to do, especially with so much social media. Okay, so I don't think I have any other questions. Hopefully I haven't missed any. I'm just trying to scroll up into the comments. But it doesn't seem like I have any other questions. If you guys do, feel free to just comment them, and hopefully I'll see them in one of the FHMoms pages. I guess that is it if I'm not seeing any more questions. Thank you, everyone. Please feel free to start tagging other people as well. And again, feel free to ask more of if you have any other ideas of other soft skills training that I can do. I believe next month I will be doing the communication skills. So if you really want to improve your communication skills, that's going to be the training that I'm doing next week. So we have a question from Nez. Do we need to put our soft skills in our resume? Yes. Any of the 10 that I mentioned earlier, you can put as your soft skills, or you can put as it's usually called transferable skills. If you put it as, because it's usually it's called usually buzzwords, which I don't really like myself, but I know a lot of recruiters or a lot of HR managers love seeing that. I love seeing it also in the application letter, not just in the resume. So if you have any of the soft skills, you're learning on them or you are mastering them, feel free to put it in your resume because it would really help. Again, all of these skills, all of the soft skills that I've mentioned, all of them are invaluable. All of them are, if one person told me that they had really good leadership skills, I'm like, I'm watching you. So yes, feel free to add it into your resume. Yeah. Don't see. Ooh, okay, we have a really long one from Sheena. Any other tips for beginners to improve? Prove more to be a virtual assistant. Takot po kasi I don't know how to start. I know basic computer, but I have some media platforms pero hindi ko alam. Need ko pa gawin to improve. I keep watching YouTube and Facebook para matuto ng virtual assistant. Wala pa kasi akong pinang budget pang start mag-enroll for training ng VA. So this one, on learning like a particular skill, so becoming a virtual assistant, one of the pieces of advice that I'll give to you is look for a coach, look for a mentor, because even if you have to pay maybe 300 or 500 pesos maybe per session or 1,000 pesos, it's going to be a guide for you to be able to go through the process. Another way is try to actually take action. So like I said, if you want to succeed at anything, you have to take action. So if you already learned this one thing, you learned how to do calendar management, then take action. Try to get hired just for the skill of calendar management. I know a couple of friends who just does 1 hour a week, does the calendar management for their client, and that's it. That's the only job that they're doing. So anytime that you learn something, take action, experiment with it, find a client for that one skill. You probably can. And also, again, find a mentor, find someone that you can look up to who can also maybe push you to move forward or motivate you to move forward as you're still learning that one skill. Okay. Any other questions? Because let me know, because I do have 10 years experience working from home, so I have a lot of information in my head. I also read a lot, so let me know. I would be more than happy to help. Let me take a very quick picture of this webinar so I could post it as well on my Instagram. Yeah, I don't think I do have anything else. Again, feel free to share this with your friends. Feel free to invite more friends into the FHMoms community. I would love to see you all in there. And thank you so much again, I hope you learned a lot. And thank you so much for tuning in on this hour and a half training on soft skills. And I'll see you next month on the training that I'll do on how to improve your communication skills. Thank you, everyone.